Arius Hale walked slowly through the silent chamber of the Celestial Archive, the oldest structure ever discovered by humanity. And although many explorers had entered its halls before, none had ever awakened it the way he just had. And he did not understand why the glowing symbols on the walls responded to his presence like they had been waiting for him since the beginning of time. He felt a deep chill rise through his spine as the soft lights formed pathways that guided him deeper, every step echoing around the endless metallic corridors, making him feel both welcome and strangely monitored, as if an unseen presence watched his every move with quiet interest. Arius tried to keep his breathing steady, but the stillness of the place made even the smallest sound feel too loud. And he wondered if the station was truly empty or if something ancient lived within the walls, something that observed but never revealed itself. He stopped when he reached the central chamber, a wide circular room filled with floating shards of crystal that rotated slowly, each one glowing from within like tiny stars trapped in glass, and the silent hum coming from them carried a calming rhythm that felt almost like a heartbeat. A moment later, the crystals aligned themselves before him, forming a shape that resembled a large doorway, and when the doorway brightened, a hologram projected into the air, showing a swirling galaxy with 4 luminous emblems orbiting around it, each emblem shaped differently and glowing with its own color. Arius took a careful step forward as the hologram expanded, revealing landscape cities, records of people, and strange symbols he did not understand. And then a soft voice echoed through the chamber, speaking in a calm tone that felt ancient yet gentle. The voice said the archive held the full timeline of humanity, spread across the stars, everything from their earliest steps on distant worlds to the rise of great alliances. And Arius felt his heart beat faster because no one had ever heard the archive speak before. The voice continued explaining that 4 great factions once guided the galaxy, groups of thinkers, builders, explorers, and caretakers, who worked together to bring hope to thousands of systems, but something happened long ago that caused them to vanish, leaving only their memories preserved inside the archive. Arius wanted to ask what happened to them, but before he could speak, the hologram flickered and shifted to an earlier era, showing humans meeting other civilizations for the first time, forming friendships, sharing knowledge, and helping planets grow from quiet worlds into thriving communities that filled the galaxy with light and cooperation. Arius watched with awe as the images flowed like a moving story, each vision more beautiful than the last, and he felt proud of what humanity had once achieved, even though he knew none of these events were taught in any school or history record. Suddenly the hologram dimmed and the lights inside the chamber faded until only the faint glow of the crystals remained. And Arius felt a strange pressure in the air, like the archive hesitated to reveal the next chapter of the timeline. He took a slow step forward and spoke softly, telling the station he wanted to understand everything, and for a moment nothing happened. But then the crystals brightened again, forming a single beam of light that scanned his face before rising toward the ceiling. The hologram returned, but this time it showed a moment in the past. Unlike the others, a moment where the factions misinterpreted a cosmic signal that reached the galaxy. From far beyond the known stars, a signal that was peaceful but looked mysterious and unfamiliar, leading the factions to fear it instead of studying it. Arius leaned closer, realizing the misunderstanding had caused the factions to isolate themselves, breaking communication and withdrawing into their own corners of the galaxy, not out of anger but out of caution, which slowly caused their unity to fade until everything they built together fell silent. The archive explained that the galaxy did not fall because of conflict, but because everyone became afraid of what they did not understand, and that silence grew until no one remembered the truth behind their disappearance. Arius felt a deep ache in his chest as he watched the hologram fade again, leaving only the door-shaped formation of crystals floating in quiet stillness. And then the voice returned, softer this time, telling him that the archive had remained asleep for centuries, waiting for someone willing to hear what others had ignored. Arius looked around the giant chamber, realizing he might be the first person in thousands of years to learn the real history of humanity's golden age. And he felt the weight of that truth settle heavily on his mind, like a responsibility he had not asked for but could not refuse. The lights brightened a final time, revealing a new message written across the chamber walls, one that said the timeline was not complete and could only continue when a new observer chose to restore what was lost. And Arius understood the archive was asking him to take that role. His heartbeat grew faster as he stepped toward the center platform, unsure of what the choice meant or what would happen next. But he knew he could not walk away from the mystery now, not when he had seen only the first pieces of the story. As the chamber filled with a rising glow, Arius felt the ground vibrate gently beneath his feet, and the crystals began moving again, forming patterns that looked like pathways stretching outward into the unknown. And in that moment he realized the archive was not only showing the past but preparing to guide him into a future that had been waiting for someone brave enough to follow it. Arius stood completely still as the glowing pathways stretched out before him, and even though he felt nervous, he also sensed that something inside the celestial archive trusted him, almost as if it recognized something he did not yet understand about himself. And when the floor beneath the platform opened into a slow-moving spiral of light, he felt the air shift with a soft pulse, like the entire station was taking a calm breath before revealing something deeper. The crystals rose into the air and rearranged themselves into a long bridge made of light that pointed toward a dark passageway, and the gentle voice echoed again, telling him the next part of the timeline waited inside the passage, but only someone ready to face the unknown could walk through it. Arius swallowed hard and stepped forward, feeling the bridge solid beneath his shoes, even though it looked like nothing but glowing air. And as he entered the dark passage, he noticed the walls were smooth and black, absorbing the light instead of reflecting it, making the air feel heavier with every step he took. A moment later, patterns began to appear on the walls around him, soft shapes that looked like constellations forming and dissolving in slow waves, and the constellations rearranged themselves into moving scenes of humans and other civilizations, preparing to explore the farthest corners of the galaxy. Arius walked slowly as the symbols shifted into a memory of how the four great factions once worked together to solve the mysteries of distant star systems, and he watched them build bridges between worlds, share knowledge freely, and guide younger civilizations to grow with confidence instead of fear. He felt awe again, but this time there was also sadness, because the more he learned, the more he understood how much had been forgotten, and how much potential had been left in silence. The passage suddenly widened into another chamber smaller than the central one, but filled with floating rings of light that spun slowly above a circular table made of clear crystal. And when Arius approached, the rings aligned themselves to create a view of a distant star field. He realized the rings were showing him the moment the factions discovered the mysterious cosmic signal that had changed everything. But this time the hologram zoomed in closer, giving him a clearer look at the event. The signal appeared as a soft ripple in space, like a wave of gentle light moving slowly toward the galaxy, and it carried patterns that looked almost musical, shapes that repeated rhythmically like a message trying to say hello in a language no one understood at the time. Arius felt the tension rise in the chamber as the hologram showed the factions reacting with uncertainty, studying the signal from different angles, each group coming to cautious conclusions instead of daring ones, and he could almost feel their hesitation seep through the projections. The light dimmed for a moment, then grew bright again as the archive showed how the factions made the choice to separate themselves until they understood the message, believing it would only take a short time, but those short days turned into long years, and long years became quiet centuries. Arius exhaled slowly as the hologram faded, leaving the crystal table pulsing gently like a calm heartbeat, and he wondered why the message had never been revisited, why no one had tried to heal the silence that grew over the years. The archive's voice returned, sounding calmer than before, explaining that the factions did not return because the galaxy drifted into an age of simple survival, where exploration slowed, learning paused, and curiosity weakened until even the memory of those great alliances became faint stories told only in scattered records. Arius felt a heavy weight settle in his chest as he listened, but something inside him sparked with determination. He was the first person to know the full truth, and that meant he also had the chance to help restore what had once existed. The rings of light began spinning faster, creating a soft hum as a new hologram formed above the table, this time showing a small symbol that glowed brighter than anything he had seen before, a symbol shaped like an eye surrounded by orbiting lines. The archive said the symbol belonged to a forgotten group called the Observers, a neutral order created long ago to preserve knowledge without taking sides. And Arius felt the air shift again as the voice explained the observatory had left behind hidden stations across the galaxy, each one containing clues that could help reconnect the four factions. Arius blinked, wondering why no one had ever found these stations. But before he could question it, the chamber walls showed star maps, each marked with faint glowing points scattered across millions of light years. The archive told him the stations could only be activated by someone chosen by the Central Archive itself, someone who showed both curiosity and patience. And Arius found himself stepping back in surprise when he realized the floating lights were not random. They were coordinates, and they were meant for him. The The chamber grew warmer as the walls displayed a final message. A journey begins when a question is asked. And Arius felt a quiet thrill rise in his chest as he understood the archive wanted him to travel to these places, learn their secrets, and bring them back so the galaxy could regain its forgotten unity. Then the passage behind him sealed silently, leaving him alone with the map, the glowing rings, and a future he had never expected to face. But before he could think about the journey ahead, the crystal table brightened again, forming a small object in the air, a simple sphere of light that drifted toward him slowly until it hovered over his hands, waiting for him to take it. Arius reached out, feeling the gentle warmth pulse through his palms, and the sphere responded by growing brighter, sending a line of light straight upward as if marking the beginning of something vast, unknown, and incredibly